The next step in creating your self-portrait is to outline the subject, yourself, using your brush. We will select our brush stroke layer, select our brush from the brush menu, press B on the keyboard to access your brush, or select the brush from the left toolbar. Once you've selected your brush, click one time in your workspace. That will set the color of the brush as well as the size of the brush. At this point, you should test to see the thickness of your brush stroke. This is much too thick, so I will undo that, and I will set my brush to 0.1. Again, testing to see the width of that brush stroke, and in my opinion, that is still a bit too thick, so I will cut that in half to 0.05. That brush stroke looks much more appropriate. We will begin to outline the features of our portrait that we would like colored separate colors. I would like this interior part of the nose to be much darker than the skin tones. So that area will need to be completely defined with an uninterrupted border. Notice that this line overlaps this line, allowing this area to be colored separately from the skin. We do have a pretty sharp transition on the side of the nose, so where this crease is, I will put in a brush stroke as well. Since this is skin and this is skin, we do not need to have this be a closed brush stroke because we're just defining a deep crease in the subject's skin. Next, we'll begin the eyes. We want the white area to be colored separately from the blue, and the blue to be colored separately from the pupil. So the pupil will need to have an uninterrupted border. Notice that these lines do overlap. There is no gap. Next, we will put in a brush stroke for the left part of the eye and a brush stroke for the right portion of the eye. And then we will begin to define the eyelids as well. Where these lines overlap is okay. We will do an operation at a later time where we clip these ends that are unnecessary. I think I will put a line here for that crease as well. Now we will work on the left eye. Make this loop. I will crisscross these lines. Again, later on I'll come back and divide those. I do believe I left a gap here. So at this point, while my lines are still brush strokes, I can adjust the anchor point to overlap those. And then back to B for my brush strokes. I probably will define this highlight, the right side of the eye, and the pupil. I don't like this little bit that I have, so I will bring it over and continue with our brush strokes. So far, so good. Next, we will do the mouth. Again, we want the teeth to be separate from the lips, to be separate from the inner part of the mouth. So each area that is going to be colored with a different color will need to be outlined separately. This area in here will be the pink. We will define the subject's teeth. Bring in the lip. And then also trace out the bottom of this lip. I'll color this in with shading at a later time. This overlap will be fixed later on as well when we do our divides. Notice the gap. We will fill that in with a brush stroke.
You got like 5